You may hear a couple kids in the background on my side. I'll try to mute if that's happening.
That's totally fine. You may hear a cat meowing on my end.
All right.
So welcome, and let me get these up here quick. All right, so we're going to get started. Here are your hosts for today, although Stefan can't join us, so it's Jay and me. I'm the Associate Dean at DAAP and have been for the past 3 years. I was a faculty member prior to that for going on 28, 29 years. So been around DAAP and the college. Stefan, Jeremy, are you a graduate of UC?
No, I went to school in Atlanta.
Okay, so DAAP is the way we refer to our college: design, architecture, art, and planning. So for those who aren't familiar with it, that's our way. Instead of the whole name, it's way too long. So, and Jay, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I've got you muted for any background noise. So as you can see here, I'm the managing director for Grow. Grow is a sister company to Park, and for both companies, we are specialized in the area of design management, design leadership. We've been doing this for about 25 years now as a global leader, working with Fortune thousands to Fortune 10 companies. And not to say too much about Grow, but Grow is a spinoff from our consultancy about 10 years ago, where we brought it to the market to officially deliver that service from a direct need from our clients in the industry to help train and level up their design talent to become better managers and leaders. So, and I've been doing this for about 14 years or so now in this role.
So we thought the participants that this is the schedule for tonight, the participants introduce themselves. I can talk a little bit about the origins of the DAAP Professional Leadership Program. Jay is going to talk about the Grow modules and do a demonstration of their LiveBook app that they use in their modules, and then see if there are any questions. But we can keep this pretty informal. So I'll stop sharing for a minute. And so, but Jeremy, you said you couldn't get your, can't turn your video on, but please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. My name is Jeremy Van Hill. I've been designing medical equipment for about 20 plus years. I stepped into a management role maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And pretty happy with it. I can hold my own as a designer, but typically everyone on my team is a better designer than I am. They don't really let me design anymore, which is totally fine. I prefer the management side of things. But mostly what I've been doing over the last 8 or 9 years has kind of been finding my own way, kind of figuring things out on my own. And I think now would be a really great opportunity for me to find out which of the things that I've come to conclusions are correct and which ones are maybe have some better options. So that's sort of where I'm at. Recently, I just started, so I've been in consultancy for the last 15 plus years. And about 6 months ago, I joined Johnson & Johnson in the MedTech group.
Great.
And know Stefan pretty well. He was the Northeast IDSA district VP right before I was, so I took that spot after he left it, and so he and I got to know each other decently through that.
Okay, very cool. Good to hear, Jeremy.
Mansi, do you want to go?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mansi Jahan. I just moved here in fall 2021 for my master's degree in community planning. I'm doing my co-op at LiveBook, which is also a design-based firm. And currently I'm working as a co-op for a planner's perspective. And it's very interesting to know how planners can be also get involved in this design field. So I'm very interested to know, like, if I want to continue this in the future, how it will be this will be helpful for me, like working in design firm. And my undergrad was in architecture, so I can somewhat relate to design firms. But yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm gonna start sharing again here. I just wanted to share a little bit of the background of the program development. Our dean, Timothy Jackna, and our college level advisory board, who are many of our alumni and sitting in high level positions, had this discussion with us about this idea of continued and lifelong learning. And we brainstormed some thoughts and ideas about how we might do that. DAAP is in the college as well as the university, or have the traditional academic programs, but we think we could offer opportunities for reconnecting with our graduates and attracting non-graduates, and delve into the idea of leadership education. We did a survey of alumni in 2019. That's when I started in this role, and I've got a little bit of data on that, which I'm going to share. And then we got into discussions with Grow. So I sent out a survey and I asked our alumni, this went out to thousands of alumni from our college, what are your interest areas for professional development courses? And the top one, and they could select more than one, was leadership and management. There's also, of course, strong interest in software and technology training. And I could see entrepreneurship as, slipping into that leadership management kind of area as well. And so that really supported the discussions that the dean was having with the advisory group, and sort of got us thinking. And I was looking on Instagram once and got something from IDSA, the Industrial Design Society of America, and saw that Grow was working with IDSA on a program. And I thought, this looks interesting. So contacted Jay and Stefan, and we've had discussions since going back to last October, I think, in working on this. And that's kind of where the program has come from. So as what you could expect, we hope to put together, participants with creative professionals in related fields. They don't have to just be designers. They can be people who work with designers. It could build your professional networks through interactions with the program leaders, the Grow guys, DAAP students, and DAAP alumni. We've got some other activities planned which would allow you to engage with students and alumni. It gives you real world relevant materials applicable to your current work, content that's highly interactive, and if you're an alumni, and you can return to UC for the 2022 homecoming activities, which are happening right after our program. Benefits to you. You can invest in your professional development and growth. Again, it's easily applicable to your current and future roles. Grow has reported that more than 25% of those who've participated have gotten promoted directly or shortly after going through the program. So it's a good investment in your professional careers. If you need to sell it to your employers, the employees will hone and develop their leadership skills. And for employees will learn that leading design is different from just managing it. It's also, investing in employees is good for the bottom line. It improves retention, and employees appreciate the investment in their development. So I thought I can turn it over. Jay was going to talk about the modules and the LiveBook demo. So I can stop sharing my screen.
Okay, you guys can hear me okay, and hopefully you can see the screen here.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll walk you through our LiveBook, and before that, maybe just a little bit of context. So as I mentioned earlier, we've been super specialized in the space of design leadership, design management. We actually started as design strategist when that was unheard of and unknown of, and then that one became a little bit more commonplace. We repositioned to design management, and for us, the pinnacle, which we're now seeing a lot in the industry, is design leadership. You know, I hate to say, but it's true that there's a lot of designers in the world, a lot of good design schools, a lot of options, but there's also a lot of not so good designers because there's so many. But as you evolve in your profession, you go from doing the what as a designer to managing the how. That's a big gap in competencies, knowledge, skills, and attitude. And from managing to leading is also a gap. What we've seen in the marketplace is, unfortunately, a lot of times designers are thrown in the deep end, sink or swim, figure it out. Eventually they do, but the learning curve is very rough. So long story short, we were approached by one of our long-term clients who we've been with for over 20 years, being Lego, to help them professionalize and formalize their internal training. So we developed the Lego Design Academy. We launched it as the Grow program, and we brought that to the marketplace because most all industries and companies we know of face the same challenges. A little bit like you mentioned, Jeremy, you get away from doing the what, which we all learn to do, whether that's product design or even architectural design, and start managing the how, the people, the budgets. And there's not a lot of real experience to go from. And then leadership is a whole nother side of the same coin, but different conversations, different stakeholders, different deliverables, et cetera. What we see today is that there's a lot of education programs that are starting to fill the gap in creating, design management degrees and helping to train managers, but they also lack the real world experience. As I always like to say, they can't teach politics in university. These are just things that you learn on your own to navigate the human side of things. So just a little bit of context there. So after 25 years of helping world-leading clients excel in design and innovation management and also leadership, we formalized our education program, which you see here, our LiveBook. So we're very proud of the what. We think we have world-class content as the pioneer in the space, but also the how. 12 years ago, back then it was a little bit more innovative and a little bit more disruptive. Now it's commonplace. That we developed an online e-learning platform called a LiveBook, and this is to help facilitate learning for busy working professionals, right? This program is for working professionals. The jobs don't stop. Most everyone gets sponsored by the employer to go and take the training, but your day job doesn't stop, right? So we facilitated the learning through this portal. This is the welcome page to the portal. It's proprietary, it's customizable, it's your portal. Yes, it's another sign on with another password, which hopefully one day we'll do away with the passwords, but this is your proprietary place to come and access the materials. And not to impress you by any means, but to impress upon you, you can see here some of the many programs we're running right now. So some partnership programs like UC, IDSA, but also in Europe, we're partners with a lot of the design councils across Europe, in Norway, Germany, Belgium, Holland, et cetera. But also a lot of companies, Electrolux, Bosch, DAAP, which is a data company, data analytics, et cetera. So again, not to impress you, but there's a need. There's a need and there's a direct ROI of these programs to help managers and leaders to step up and excel in this area. Okay, even though it's a small group, it's open conversation. So please feel free to step in with any questions or want to know more and dig deeper, et cetera. I'll give it to you very high level, pretty quick here. The first thing I'll show you, so you'll have your UC program here. This is the current program we're running right now. We're coming to the finish line for the current program in the US. But what I just wanted to show you is, as a participant, one of the first things we ask of you is to kind of customize your learning goals. So we'll ask you to just share your profile, which will help us better know you and also help facilitate the networking of all the other professionals that will be in the program, because that is an added value of the program, is to extend your professional network. I always say no matter what company, culture, geography, we're all more or less facing the same challenges, right? How to elevate design, how to get more budgets, more appreciation, etc. So being able to expand your network, hopefully connect on LinkedIn, all that good stuff. That's just some small side notes. But we ask you in the beginning to set the relevancy or the importance of some learning goals, very high level, right? So how important is it for you to learn the vocabulary of design management from anywhere from not relevant to very relevant? It's a little meter here. And then furthermore, we'd like a little bit of context, right? So this is the fill in the blank here for one of our participants, and just explains things, right? So are you new to the company? Is the company new to design? Are you in a small startup, a large global organization? All that context matters. And why it matters for us, even though it's a very kind of quick, intense boot camp, we know how to dig deep or to back off in the content and presentations to give you an optimized learning experience, right? To help you achieve those goals, right? I haven't seen too many people over my 12 plus years taking this program that say it's not relevant at all. If it's not relevant, we really challenge, is it really not relevant because you already know all this stuff, it's not applicable in your company, and then it usually changes, yeah, well, there is some relevancy. So just a little bit of customization on the intake. And also this comes back later because when you're asked to do assignments, because this is practice-based, it's not all just lecture and theory, you're going to actually work through the materials. When it comes time to present your assignments, we will look back on this. And if you said, for example, it was very relevant, very important for you to learn the vocabulary, but you're not using the vocabulary, then it's like a red flag, right? Hey, it's important to you, but we don't hear things around the business of design, the ROI, all that stuff. So small intake exercise that goes a long way as far as the program benefits to you. Just wanted to share that with you. And then I'll just walk you through one of the modules. And here's kind of our master list right here of all the current modules we have, kind of turnkey and offer. And one of our latest, we feel is very important, as offered with the UC program, is Design for Humanity. This is now very, I like to think, commonplace in business. 10 years ago, sustainability was maybe, kicked around a little bit. What are we thinking or doing? And now it's kind of the way of doing business, right? Sustainability, society, all those good things. I personally use the triple bottom line metaphor. It's not just about profit, it's about the planet and the people and the purpose. And it's being proven now that purpose-led companies are becoming market leaders. If you think of like the Patagonias of the world who really live their brand promises. So very important topic to learn, to manage and lead. And I don't know where you're at in your industry, but if it's not relevant yet, it will be, especially in Europe, where a lot of this is now becoming regulatory, right? A lot of manufacturers are now going to be required to take their products back at the end of the life cycle. It's no longer allowed to go to a landfill, it's illegal. So the old washers, dryers, vacuum machines, et cetera, have to be recollected and whatever, repurposed, recycled by those manufacturers. So that's a pretty big deal. The US, we're a little bit behind because politics, they like to talk about things up, down, around, away, sideways, but it's coming. Okay, so we feel it's a very important, relevant, and purposeful module. What you see here is your interface. So this is the LiveBook platform. Every module, we ask you to do a small preparation, kind of like a homework assignment. It's very light. Watch a video, read an article, just come to that session prepared to already have some thoughts formulated about the topic. In the case of Design for Humanity, we ask to watch or hopefully rewatch the famous Eames Power of 10 video that kind of puts things into context, right? So small little pre-assignment to get us all thinking things, and then we start into the LiveBook. I will say that all the modules are very similar architecture, so colors and layout, so it becomes a little bit more intuitive as you go through one or two modules. You'll start to kind of know where you're at from the navigation. So just to run through this, we got a lot of chapters and pages, but we asked you to watch a video. We talk about some statistics starting out. Why is it important? What are the challenges we're facing as a collective society, systems thinking, et cetera. And what you'll see here is it's a multimedia enriched platform. So there's oftentimes a link to an article or a video, et cetera. So in the training program, we only have 4 hours together to go through a lot of content. We don't ask or even allow you to go through it ahead of time. We like to walk you through it. So it is actually locked. You're locked out of that module until we literally make it live the moment of. We walk you through it. We can't cover everything. So there is also a lot of follow-up or homework is to go back through, revisit, redigest, read the rest of the articles, the videos, etc. So we're giving it to you very, very high level in the training program. We like to give you the key nuggets, but also we give you more information. And we do like to keep it pretty high level because any of these topics, if you Google it, you get 1,000,001 hits. Where do you look? And we like to have distilled it down to you to be much more manageable and practical in the learning. Also on that note, I like to say that as tutors coming into the program, we have 3 jobs to do. Inform the content, inspire the group with real world examples and so forth. But also to facilitate the discussions because everybody is a working professional with some degrees of experience, a little bit over a lot, and being together, we help facilitate that, right? So everybody's, oh, I remember my current job, or we just came off this meeting, and that's where we say, you know, the kind of raising the bar of the group, right? So we also do some icebreakers and energizers to get everybody very friendly, so they're not shy or timid to help speak out amongst the group. Okay, so just some introductions, some history. So what's that kind of evolution to where we're at today? Just again, introduction, a little bit of the tip of the iceberg, some quotes, models, and theories. So some things that you might be able to put in your back pocket and bring to your team or your management, etc. Some of these are pop-outs. This isn't a great example, but we have case studies that pop out where you can see more details. Talk about the sustainable development goals. Hopefully you're familiar with that, but this comes back later in the assignment is, you know, where do you want to focus personally or your organization, etc. This is just the first chapter. You know, we go through it pretty quick. We have some good discussions. And at the end of each chapter, we either have a reflection or a summary. In this case here, it's a reflection. So we will ask you to you know, pose these questions to yourself and then actually write your answer in the LiveBook. So it is interactive. So we will put on this, what I call Pavlovian music, some background music. But after you hear it a couple times, as soon as you hear the music, you know, oh, I better be thinking and writing and reflecting on something. This is a personal reflection, but what we'll do is we'll take a few minutes with the group and we'll ask, you know, who cares to share? Again, facilitate the discussions, the learnings amongst the group. But also in your LiveBook, we know a lot of people go back to this weeks, months, and years down the road. What was I thinking back then? What were my ambitions and what have I done or still need to do, whatever that might be. Jeremy, I know you mentioned you've got some experience. Mansi, I think you have a little bit on the lower end of experience. And I would say for us, the average age of experience is about 12 years. But it is interesting. And for me in the beginning, it was almost kind of counterintuitive, but the people that have the more experience get more value out of this program. Why so? Because they've been facing these challenges for a long time in their career and they haven't found a really good way to get around them. And by taking this program, they're able to, whatever you want to say, break through a ceiling, break down some barriers, essentially learn how to connect to the business side. As we say, design management is the business of design, right? And if you're younger in your career, it's great because you already have a head start. And when you reach those obstacles, you know how to better navigate them accordingly to some frameworks, tools, methodologies, and learnings from the peer group. Okay, so feel free to jump in with any questions. Just an introduction, start thinking about it. I will also say that we like to use the funnel metaphor for our modules. So in the beginning, it's very kind of wide and open. You'll maybe see some things that are public domain. Again, the Eames video has been around forever. Maybe it's a TED Talk or an HBR article. But as we go through about halfway through the module, the funnel starts to tighten down where we go into definitions, models, and theories. And at the end of the module, the funnel tightens down very specifically, so specifically that you have an assignment, a personal assignment to work on for you in the context of your environment, your role, your company, etc. Okay, so this one comes a little bit earlier than others, but a definition, and we like to offer the definition. There's many definitions, but we like to just give it to you simple and straightforward. And I know I'm all over the place, but I will also add that we call it a LiveBook because it is just that, it's a live book. We haven't gone the academia route to get it accredited, which has its pros and cons, because a lot of HR will only pay for a program that has accreditation, but we don't accredit it, not because it's a long and expensive process, but it's a live book. And if we literally want to go in over a lunch break and add a case study or change a definition, we can do that. And we always like to be current and relevant, and we like to be challenged from the group. A lot of people say, oh, that's a little bit dated, and so forth and so on. Okay, so again, some pop-outs for some more materials, PDFs, going through the definition. Here in Design for Humanity, we talk about, design systems or some methodologies, human-centered design to humanity-centered design, kind of our perspective on it. Definitions, we have a tool, a model that we've developed. So you also will see a lot of IP, intellectual property from Park, based on our 25 years experience, some tools that we use in our practice to help elevate those different topics, humanity, leadership, etc. We like to keep things simple and intuitive as designers. So it's a rather kind of simple tool. We call it the 4 horizons, but very deep in discussions, positioning and impact, right? This is many case of easier said than done, right? We're at 1, we just want to go to 4. But in a lot of these organizations, this is many, many years, many stakeholders, and very, very challenging to do. Again, integrated videos and some examples here. So we also like to be a little bit industry agnostic. So our history and heritage is around industrial products, manufacturing, CPG, automotive, but of course, with the design world going so fast, we've got a lot around digital, of course, UI, UX, but also service design, business design, as well as different industries. So also, again, back to the intake, if we see you're all coming from more of a specific industry than others, then we can dial in examples and pull back out so that it's a little bit more relevant for you. But it won't all be relevant, because we're a firm believer also in the infamous cross-pollination, right? So we have a lot of clients that say, just show us what the competitors are doing. We know you work with them, help us. Yes, but you can learn a lot from automotive if you're in healthcare, and healthcare if you're whatever, right? So it's good to have those different case studies and perspectives here. Okay, and then again, at the end of every chapter is either a reflection, or in this case, a summary. Just summarize the key points that we just discussed. Go through the modules. Every module has a myth that we like to demythify. It's subjective. We don't have total facts on it, but generally speaking, we kind of know if it's true or not. We ask you in this case. The myth is Design for Humanity is only about the environment. Since it's a small group, I would ask the two of you, do you think this is a true or not true statement? If you're talking about Design for Humanity, that it's more about the environment and sustainability. What's your take on that? Would you say it's true or not true?
I'm hesitant to go first.
True, gentlemen. Mansi, what would you say? There's no right or wrong. It's very subjective.
I think it's not true, because it's the design for humanity is just not for the environment, but it's all about, inclusive of everything. For example, humanity also is like one of the aspects, like thinking about the people, then thinking about the environment. It's like it's now totally different departments. So I think it's not true from my perspective.
Okay, good to hear. Jeremy, your take on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a good answer, Mansi. I think me 10 or 15 I'm 10 or 15 years ago, I might have said yes, but I remember specifically wanting to get into medical design because I thought, a lot of design was just, creating dissatisfaction with current product and, pushing planned obsolescence and all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of like, grossed out by the whole thing. But I think I've probably evolved and grown up a little bit since then and realized, like, if you can put a smile on somebody's face, I don't care if it's a Pixar movie or a fun little plastic toy, or or by helping resolve climate change. Like, all of those are very valiant efforts. And so yeah, I think environment is a big part of it, and probably err on the side of that to overcompensate for the last 150 years. But while it might be one of the biggest parts, it's certainly not the only part, right?
Yeah. Okay, good to hear, and that's what I would hopefully expect to hear from professionals in this space. However, it's a little bit of a loaded or almost a trick question, because we also say, if you were to ask your grandmother or somebody on the street that knows nothing about the world of design, maybe not in this context, but other ones where design is about beauty and aesthetics, right? Because most people hear design and they think very specifically, right? And that's the reality, and it's our job as professionals to unpack that, right? Design is not how things look, it's also how they work and how they connect.
I think,
in fact,
I'll add to that. I come from a background in interior design, and that, I think, gets that reputation of, you're there to pick pillows and wall covering and carpet, and it's like, and it's
Right.
always a battle to say, no, we think about health, safety, and welfare of people. And yeah, it might include the color theory that goes into selecting those products, but it's not just that.
And we've come a long way, but unfortunately, the reality is in most large organizations, a lot of enterprises, that design is still perceived as the kind of decoration station or the stylist, the creative people that just make things beautiful somehow. No, we have a professional process, definitions, and all that stuff that help add value to the strategic part of business. And in fact, we just had an alumni gathering last week for our global alumni of a couple thousand people now, and the topic was social design, which is coming up next. So it's hard to keep track of everything. Design is really having its heyday right now, thanks to the Apples, Dysons, Googles, whoever of the world. But it's coming quick. Communication design, behavior design, and a lot of people don't even know what design means, let alone these other things. So this is our opportunity to lead the organizations to be at the forefront of, at the end of the day, it's great business, great customer experiences, or in this case, great for the triple bottom line. Okay, we just go through some more examples and start to unpack things. In this case, we demythify that it's not, of course, just about environment, it's about complex systems, social aspects, etc. I do want to take a moment here and just point out one little small feature that has also a great value. On almost every page, except the final reflections or summaries, you have this little speech bubble in the corner. If you click that, you get a pop-out, and here you're able to take notes. If you're a note writer in your notebook, okay, you've got your notebook on the side, but we really advocate this system. You can take a note, and then you can do one of two things. You can keep it private, so your own personal notes are here and archived and consolidated accordingly to the modules, or you can make it public for others to see and react, and it becomes kind of like a social media thread. While this is great, is because a lot of times we're in a session and somebody will say, oh, I just saw this great video or this article about this topic. It was awesome. I can't think of it. I don't remember. And then they'll go back later and share the link or have a conversation. So again, facilitate distance learning, helping to connect and integrate professional networking. So small little feature here that adds a lot. And you can see also you can upload some things. So sometimes people want to share directly an article or an example, whatever it is they might have to help the group. Okay, just, again, more of the same context, information. We just have good discussions, keep it high level as we go forward. This one here has got a lot of content because there's a lot to unpack around humanity. And again, as before, a reflection. We'll ask you a question, how the current balance is between business, people, and planet, and what are your roadblocks in your company. Take a few minutes, answer, and some people will share out with others in the group. And then we just cruise on and go forward. This is something new that we're integrating directly into all of our programs because this is a newer module. It's got its own place, specifically calling out the business context. So this is nice, but people hear design for humanity. It seems a little soft and fluffy. No. At the end of the day, what is the business context, right? What is the ROI? How can you come back and predict and prove value to the organization, whatever that is? Yes, bottom line, profits, cost savings, but also things around brand affinity, brand awareness, innovation opportunities, cultural change, society change, etc. A little bit about the history, the landscape, business models, very high level. Going back to some of the sustainable development goals here, connecting some of those opportunities. Some examples from industry, so you can see some different industries: Puma, Ikea, Siemens, and HP, and they share their reports here, right? So again, I think it's commonplace today. Most people have to be not only involved but transparent. What are they doing here? So these companies are publishing their annual reports, sustainability, etc. And a lot of these companies have lofty goals. In fact, one of our clients, Unilever, when their incoming CEO came in, I think 8-10 years ago, as most CEOs, he had not one but two goals. The number one goal of all CEOs is we're going to double the revenue in X amount of years. That's standard. Oh, and by the way, we're going to halve our environmental impact. That's Unilever that sells more than 1 billion products per day, right? So that's the mandate from the CEO. Now, you guys are smart, figure it out. Design, procurement, marketing, right? So, I mean, those are the realities. Top down helps versus pushing bottom up, but we all need to do something. So another reflection, etc. Then we start to unpack it a little bit. So now we're getting more to the middle of the funnel. So why is it important? We could discuss this for days. We could probably give you a whole book on it, but we just give you 3 top line reasons or rationalizations of why it's important, the value, and how you can kind of sell that to the organization. This is one of our models about the dimensions of how do you kind of ascend from just the lower one of kind of being more reactive to being proactive in different things. Okay, so then we start to unpack it around the motivation, responsibility, who's actually owning this. This is a big question because it's like customer experience. A lot of organizations, we ask who owns customer experience, and the answer is everybody. We all do. Well, that's good, but if everybody is responsible, nobody's accountable, right? So who's really accountable? Who has the budgets, the mandate, the authority to tie it all together, to make it seamless, integrated, etc. Just start to unpack the model a little bit here, walk you through it, and this is one of the key takeaways: is a model to help position and again transverse your positioning in design for humanity. Another reflection, and then we offer what we call our core tool. So each Grow module has a proprietary Grow tool, a template, a worksheet, whatever, to help you walk through this topic, right? Again, you will have an assignment to work on, and we don't throw you anymore. We used to in the deep end, just, okay, here's your assignment, and bring it back in a PowerPoint or a one-pager. But now we give you some tools to walk through. We have an activity here. So also in the sessions, it's not all lecturing. Again, we facilitate a lot of discussions, but we'll also have breakout activities. This one comes a little bit later, somewhere earlier, where we'll team you up in pairs, a teammate or a couple of you, to work together on a topic very quickly, kind of like a quick scrum or a sprint. Discuss quickly, come to a resolution, share it with the group, and we compare and contrast. Is everyone kind of saying the other thing, same things in a different way, or challenging what the other groups have to say, and they're kind of positioning their take on it. Ending up with learnings. Then we offer case studies. Again, this one not so much, but other ones are going to be proprietary to Park. So we're going to share with you how things work inside our clients over the past 20 years on different topics. You won't see this anywhere else. It's not published. It's not fully confidential because, of course, if it's confidential, we can't and won't share it, but we give you enough to give you the gist of it. Everybody hopefully knows Phillips, and if you're on social media, there's a big buzz because they just won the Red Dot Design Team of the Year award, which is pretty coveted positioning. One of our clients, Phillips. Phillips is now Phillips Healthcare. They divested and sold off all of their other product lines and doing only healthcare, which still includes some things like toothbrushes and stuff, because that is healthcare. So we give you a case study, a little context, and then again, what's the key nugget, right? What have they done to excel in the area of design for humanity? And this is the team that just won. They're called their Experience Design Team. So I'll give you a little bit of nuggets there. And again, as active practitioners, we can come in and say, actually, we just had a workshop last week, and this is the latest context, the challenges, whatever we can share with the group. So a couple case studies. Ikea, not a client of ours, but of course, and to your point, you know, what is Ikea now doing to move the needle? Because they're basically a disposable furniture company, right? That's their business model. A short shelf life, but now they're moving into recycling, recomposting, biodegradable materials. And in fact, I'm sure you guys hopefully know that they just opened their secondhand Ikea store, which is kind of a oxymoron, because I don't know how many times you can recycle or repurpose Ikea furniture, but they're buying it back, they're repurposing, and they're selling it as a secondhand item at a lower price point. So some insights into the industry. Another company here that's more about sustainable living futures. And then a summary. So this one's only got a few case studies. Other ones we offer a good 5 or 6 case studies. And again, this is an example where we've got a lot in our back end, and we'll pull them in. We'll put them in or pull them out according to the group if we want to do more digital, industry specific, etc. Okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. Here we get towards the end. All of our modules have a expert interview where we've gone out and interviewed our network. This is a client, but this is not a specific interview. This is an interview he did for the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Anyway, it's a short video for you to watch to hear directly from the horse's mouth. He's general manager for Phillips Healthcare, and what is his take on humanity. And then we ask you here to do a self-assessment. So we've talked a lot about design for humanity, managing and leading, examples, and we're going to ask you to give yourself a ranking based on what we call the competencies of knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge is what you learn. You're going to learn in the program. You're learning every day from social media, conferences, magazines, but then you apply that knowledge and build your skill set. And as they say, or whoever they say, the proverbial saying is attitude is everything. And I can say, because I've been in the design field a long time, designers are a finicky bunch. And a lot of times it's that attitude or mindset shift that really is a difference to really excel in managing and leading, whether that is embracing holistic thinking or multidisciplinary approaches, etc. So you see a start button. It's actually an integrated widget. So it's basically a plugin, and it will ask you to put in your email. It'll ask you to give you a score 1 through 3, low, medium, and high. Give yourself a ranking. You get the results back, and then you kind of know where you're at, right? I mean, there's a little bit of a score. It's not, you know, any competition, but then you have a sense of, are you doing very well here? And this is something you could excel in right away because you have the competencies, or you're not doing so well. And then you always have, you know, kind of 2 choices. Learn to excel in this area and become more of a maestro, or hopefully appreciate that it's important, appreciate this isn't your forte, and try to whatever ensure somebody else in the organization is driving this forward. So a little bit of self-assessment, reflection. And then we come to the end, close to the end. We like the saying 1 + 1 = 11. So we have 3 modules to offer, and that's very important, because if you were just to take one, design for humanity, great, but building on the base of management and leadership, those are the 2 sides of the same coin, right? So it's important to build the baseline, and then this connects back to that, and then there's other modules that it connects to, or things that are important. In case of design for humanity, it's a little bit of all of the above, right? You got to know proper briefing, proper resources, proper governance, what is the quality you want to achieve, etc. Okay, getting towards the end, this is a framework that comes at the end of every module. And again, simple in nature, but complex in discussion. And the question for you to pose is, are you leading or managing? Do you know when to switch? Do you want to switch? Can you switch, right? A lot of people say, I'm not a leader. I don't have the right title. I don't have the right authorization. I don't get invited to those meetings. Well, you don't need it officially. You have to think and push things like a leader, or manage more the how. And then furthermore, you can see, is it the content, the people, or the process? So kind of navigating this. And they're different moments in time. Sometimes you're managing the how and getting it done, and then you step up to leadership and we need to do something different or start doing something, etc. Then we get to close to the end, a little summary. Then we ask you to work on an assignment, again, specifically for you. So we ask you to relate to the sustainable development goals? What are important to you? How would that benefit your business? What is your plan, et cetera? And then again, a pop out for the PDF. So this is our worksheet, proprietary tool for you to work on. There's a couple versions that fill in the blank PDF or just a standard PDF. And then back to what I said earlier, right? We asked you some very generic learning goals about learning the vocabulary design management. Now, specifically around the topic of design for humanity, it's important to show the wide perspective of the UN sustainable goals, right? So vocabulary in general, specifically for design for humanity, which relates to the sustainable development goals, which I would hope and expect every leader in an organization is not only familiar, but doing something to pursue some of those for their own, corporate benefit, if you will. Okay, so there's an assignment to work on, and then at the very end, we give you more to study. Again, you could Google and get 1,000,001 hits, PhD dissertations, et cetera. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have much time at all to read books. So we've distilled a lot of the leading information down in the LiveBook, but if you want to know more, there's some links to some of what we think are leading books, websites, publications, articles. So there's more to come if you want to deep dive and get more resources. Back to the LiveBook, we'll ask you, do you know of anything that's relevant? And people are always offering, oh, I just read this new book, it just came out great. We get this on the back end, we'll review it and vet it. And if it seems to be of value, then we'll add it to our library sections for others to benefit. And that's about it. So we closed down the module, and that's it. That's it in the sense, we have 4 hours to cover that, and we still run short on time because there's a lot of fruitful discussions, a lot of questions and answers, a lot of reflections, et cetera. So I know it's a lot to take in, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or hear any feedback or thoughts from the two of you.
No immediate questions. Well, maybe one actually. Is there a different approach with the group size? So depending on if there's, I don't know whether you call them cohorts or whatever,
Yes.
the student group, participant group, if it's
Yes.
40 people or 2 people, is it the same approach or is it different?
I use the word yine a lot, which is not maybe, but yes and no. Jeremy, it's pretty much the same because we limit it. I think, and we're capped at 20. I think for this cohort, we hope to fill it up, but we might be around a dozen or so. We don't do large trainings for large groups. If we have a large group in an organization, we break it down to smaller cohorts. So 20 is the max because it is an intimate training. We want to pair people up. We want to have the discussion. So we've had groups of just a few, which, maybe the discussions aren't as in-depth and fruitful. For us, the sweet spot's around a dozen people, 20 max. Because after that, nobody gets a chance to really speak and conversations go awry. So that's part of our design of the programming as well, the size and the intimacy.
Got it. And then for each module, you said it's probably about four hours of in-person. About how
Yes.
much outside of that 4 hours in terms of, it sounds like very light prep, but in terms of like afterwards, kind of the and I'm sure you get in, you get out what you put into it in terms of reading all the extra materials and stuff like that. But what would be like this 80-20 of what kind of effort you'd want to put in outside of that 4 hours?
Yeah, no, exactly. You get out of it what you put into it. In the case of the boot camp with UC, we're going to do the assignments in person versus going away and working them on your own, because that would take a lot of additional time. So I would say in addition to the 4 hours that we spent together reviewing and working on some things, probably another 4 hours to review everything, to flush it out, to really think about it, to maybe go back and answer some questions, some reflections.
Great.
So Nancy, do you have any questions?
I have a question about like how this the 4 hours are. Is this particular to, what will be the timings of that? I'm like, if I want to join in the program. So is it like particular to individual, or like it's according to the group, which you said?
For the actual program? The dates are set. So they'll be live in person, I think October 5th and 6th. And
Wow.
so we will get together in person for 2 days to go through the materials, the training. It's part lecture, part workshop, part to, I wouldn't say team building, but facilitating the networking. We'll spend 2 days together to do that. And then there's a third optional day to do some extended learning, some lectures and et cetera.
The third day, and we'll talk, we're planning another session, which we'll talk more about the third day at that session, because we're running up at 7 o'clock right now. But that's something that DAAP is organizing with some alumni that we have from different industries. So we'll go into more detail about that one in our next information session. So hopefully you'll come back. So that would round out the 3 days of the program. And so I don't need to, we'll cover that. And I'm happy to stay on. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and we only really planned this for an hour. There are more details. I put the link to the page about the program in the chat, but you can always find it, or you can also reach out to me, or I'm sure Jay, if they've got questions, I can connect people. Sorry, I got a cat who wants to go outside. But yeah, if there are any more questions before we close this up?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other question I had, it looked like in the itinerary that the design management, design leadership, and design here for humanity were kind of both on 2 days. Is the intent to hit
Jay, you want to?
Yeah, I think it cut out a little bit, Jeremy, but yeah, so day 1 will be management and leadership. Those modules are a little bit lighter in context.
all design management? Second,
So management and leadership will
does that
be the
question make
first.
sense?
Yeah, I think it's breaking up a bit. Could you
Sorry about
repeat?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. And I was just looking at sort of the agenda for the 3 days, and it looks like on day 1 and day 2 it says design management, design leadership, design for humanity.
Yes.
And I didn't know if all 3 of those topics were going to be touched on each day, or if it was going to be like day 1 is going to be design management, and then day 2 is leadership and humanity, or something like that.
So day 1 will be design management, design leadership, with a little bit of introduction amongst the group. So we got a lot to do in a little time. So we'll also work through some assignments there, very kind of quick, down and dirty, kind of prototyping the tools. Day 2 will be design for humanity, because you can see there's a lot of content to go through. So the 4 hours that we typically go through, we have a little bit more. But then the second half of day 2, Jeremy, will be a workshop where we will really deep dive into design for humanity, but we will be relating directly back to management and leadership modules and context in some of your output there to start to already connect the dots between the 3, or let's say the triangle, right? So we're not going to just do management leadership, forget about it. We're going to bring it into day 2 as we unpack humanity and what is your ambition, or the assignment for design leadership is manifesto, right? What is your vision, whatever that means. An industry, a function, a department, a project, that's completely open for interpretation from you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me, and I can help you in whatever ways I can.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
feel free
Thank
to
you
reach out.
both very much.
Thank you for
Take
joining.
care.
Hope to see you in October.
Excellent. Have a good rest of your
Okay,
day.
guys.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.